For most Filipinos and for a majority of Filipino households, eating is a favorite pastime. So it's not really very surprising that here in our home, the dining table is our most sought-after furniture piece. So today, in our Home Inspirations, we're going to be talking about the dining table and how to maximize the design potential of this very popular furniture piece. What do you think is the most popular shape as far as dining tables are concerned? You guessed it right, it is the rectangular dining table. Now, one of the things that you have to consider is the number of diners. And for a rectangular dining table, of course, the default is a table for 6. But the thing is, a rectangular dining table being very practical and functional, as you increase the number of diners, all you have to do is increase the length of the table with the width remaining the same. So this, of course, allows you to really pile in the number of diners without necessarily having to change the width of the table. Now, this is a disadvantage for round and square dining tables. Why? Because in a round dining table, every time that you add a diner, you automatically increase the diameter of the table. For the square, if you increase the length, then automatically you also have to increase the width. Now, this would have to take into consideration also the size of the room. So it's not really very surprising that in Filipino homes, it is the rectangular dining table that's actually quite popular. Now, what we have here is a typical dining table setup consisting of 6 chairs. Now, one of the things that you have to consider is the size, the standard size of your dining table, and a minimum standard dimensions of a standard dining table is 140 in length, that's in centimeters, and 80 centimeters in width. Now, this is the minimum, meaning to say that with these dimensions, you will be able to sit comfortably 6 people. Now, in this setup, what we have is a pair of host chairs on both ends of the table, and then, of course, 4 guest chairs on either side. Now, this is very practical as far as a rectangular dining table is concerned because it is not only conducive to sharing meals, but it is also conducive to sharing good conversation. Next up, we have to talk about the comfort when you're seated on your dining table, and as far as comfort is concerned, the space in front of you is what matters the most. Now, this is actually referred to as the place setting. Now, the place setting measures 40 centimeters in front of you and 60 centimeters at the sides. Now, what happens here is that this dimension, 40 by 60 cm, is everything that you need to pile in the dinner plate, the soup bowl, the bread plate, the cup and saucer. So it is quite well within reach. Now, one of the things that you also have to remember is the elbow room on both sides. Now, for it to be very safe and comfortable, you have to have at least 10 centimeters on both left and right sides of the dining table for you to be able to really move your elbows and be comfortable in eating and at the same time sharing meals. We also have to talk about the heights of your dining table as well as the heights of your dining chair. Now, first up, for the dining table, to achieve maximum comfort, your dining table height from the ground should only be between 76 centimeters to 85 centimeters. Anything lower or higher than this should already be very uncomfortable for the diner. Now, to be able to achieve this in consonance, of course, with the chair, your dining chair seat height should also be 45 centimeters from the ground. Now, when used together, another test that you would want to do is to measure the edge of your seat to the lower edge of your dining table, and this should be only 30 centimeters in height. And now the fun part. And when I say the fun part, I'm actually talking about the creativity of playing around with seating options for your rectangular dining table. Now, we have a variety of different styles, but this one in particular caters to the formal and elegant setting. As we have mentioned before, it consists of 2 host chairs on both ends, and then of course 4 guest chairs regularly spaced on both sides of the table. But again, this is very formal, this is very elegant. But what if you want something very casual? Now, this is where a variety of different Our Home options are available to you. Take for instance this dining table. Now this particular set includes 2 elongated benches instead of the typical dining chairs. But bear in mind though that the same comfort dimensions still apply. You still have to be able to measure your dining table from the ground to only about 76 to 85 centimeters. And again, the seat height of your bench should also be again 45 centimeters. Now, this is getting to be a very popular option nowadays because it saves on space. Imagine that the bench actually occupies less space than a typical dining chair. But then, this is now, as mentioned, very rustic, very casual dining. But what if you want a combination of both? This is where, of course, we have this particular set. It combines the casualness of a bench setting, but at the same time, it also provides a little sense of elegance by providing you with dining chairs as well. Now, in this particular case, what we can do is you can play around with different sitting options. You can mix and match host chairs, guest chairs, and benches to be able to really maximize the creativity of your dining room. Dining tables should complement and be proportional to the size and shape of your dining room. But what if you live in a condo, a loft, or even a studio unit in which the dining space is relatively small? Now, fortunately for you guys out there, Our Home carries design options so that you can be able to still plan and host that perfect intimate dinner party regardless of the size or shape of your dining space. Now, one very popular option for lack of dining space is to convert your typical or your regular dining table into a bar setup. Now, bar setups are very, very popular today because not only because it decreases the design space that it occupies, but at the same time, it's also a little bit creative because what you lack in width or length, you make up for in height. For your bar dining settings, you still have 2 options that you can play around with. The first one is this one, in which case you have the dining chairs. In this case, they're already bar stools that you can place on either side of the bar table. Now this, of course, allows a little bit more intimate setting in which, of course, conversation can occur between this person and this person. But if space is really an issue, then what you can do is you can really flush your bar table against the wall and then just provide dining chairs on one end. One of the things that you have to consider, however, if you're converting your typical dining table setup into a bar setup, is that dimensions are still very important. Now, for your bar table height, you should measure it from the ground and it should reach 105 centimeters. And your dining chair that is now a bar stool should have the seat height measured at 75 centimeters from the ground. And again, measure the lower edge of your dining bar table and the seat of your chair, and it should be 30 centimeters only. Now, another very practical solution to space problems in the dining space is this one. Now, this is actually a table that can be flushed against the wall, as you can see here. And at this point, you can only sit 2 people. But the advantage of this particular table is that it can be converted into a round dining table for 4. And when that happens, what you can do is you can just practically add 2 more chairs on either side, and voila, you have now an intimate table for 4. No dining space? No problem. Because what you can do is you can just squeeze this furniture piece into your kitchen setting, and what you have is an instant island kitchen / breakfast nook. Now, what happens here is that the dimensions of this island counter can be actually 60 centimeters to 90 centimeters so that it's perfect for food preparation. And at the same time, you can maximize the storage potential by these open shelves. But at the same time, what you can do is also maximize the dining potential of this piece because it comes with a pair of stools that you can easily pull out so that meals can be prepared and shared. Speaking of varieties and options, we're not yet done because here in our home, we have our expandable collection. In this particular case, what happens is that right now, we have a very conservative looking table for two. But if you notice, the length of this dining table is enough to be able to accommodate two more chairs on either side. But what happens is that when you actually again rearrange the configuration of this table and pull it to one side, it expands to become a table for six. To be able to do that, all you have to do is to simply pull one end of the table outward. Central panel elevates, it lifts it in place, and all you have to do now is push everything together. It locks in place, and voila, you have converted a table for two to a table for four to now a table for six. Now this is a very interesting piece of furniture that our home carries in all its 28 branches. Now this is what I would like to call our transformer piece because when not in use, it can be conveniently tucked away in one corner. But when you're ready to dine, watch. Just lift this up. There is a flap that actually, of course, supports this leaf. And on the other side, also functions the same way. So it is now converted into a table for four. But where are the chairs? Surprise! There are four chairs that are conveniently tucked away in this little cabinet. And what you can do is you can just simply pull out all four chairs and then set it around the dining table, and your little storage piece has already transformed into a table for four. Dining can even be made a more memorable experience with the right ambiance. And we all know that the right ambiance starts with the right furniture pieces. So, if eating is really your favorite pastime, then you should drop by at all our 28 branches, and we will be more than happy to assist you to make your dining experience even more memorable by, of course, the size, the style, the shape, and the application of your dining room furniture pieces. And don't forget that you can also shop online by sending us a message in our Facebook page, and we will be assigning you a virtual personal shopper for all your design shopping needs. Only here at our home, great designs, great prices.